And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell-Blanken, R. Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell-Blanken. And Tyler, we are not alone.
No, we are not, Brad. In fact, we have a very special guest today. He may look and sound familiar to you. Let's run down his credentials, Brad. He is the host of the Salty Thoughts of Donnie Oooh podcast, co-host of 19 Media's Hidden Gems Football. He's the unofficial mayor of Brooklyn, New York. He is making his second appearance on GI. Good friend of the show, Donnie Oooh. Donnie, it's great to have you, man. How are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How's everybody? How was everybody's Thanksgiving?
Oh, it's great. It was a much better weekend slash Thanksgiving, Black Friday than the previous one where I was on the Whirly Gig of Death. So Thanksgiving was great. Tyler, how was your Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that was funny. Call back to Freya and the Peter Piper video last episode. Yeah, doing well, Donnie. Thanks for asking. I think I come down with a little bit of a cold / sore throat gimmick. Like, I'm okay, but just very nasally. So Thanksgiving was super nice. Great food. Some good football action, and obviously great company being around the fam, but trying to recover from whatever situation I have going on now. How was yours? Did Donnie freeze on us? Oh, 100%. No.
100%.
No. Oh, I see him. Donnie, you're with us.
Yeah. I'm like, this is I'm about to have like PTSD from the latest edition of Hidden Gems Football. I know Mo is, if this is recording, which I'm quite sure it is.
100% it is.
I know Mo has watched this. Like, I told y'all to buy his album. He needs a new laptop. I told y'all. So if anybody wasn't familiar with Donnie Oooh, that little instance that just happened where I just blacked out and now I'm back, I reappear. Yeah, I'm Donnie Oooh from Hidden Gems Football.
Well, Donnie, before you froze, we were just asking about your Thanksgiving.
My Thanksgiving was pretty good. I can't really complain. We entered this Thanksgiving healthy for the most part. I unfortunately had to work at the shoot job, so I wasn't really able to partake in the festivities with everybody, but at the same time, we were thankful for making another Thanksgiving. So yeah, I don't want to be too down, but yeah, it was okay. It was okay. I had no complaints.
Yeah, amen. Well, needless to say, we are thankful for your presence today. We were talking before our recording here about the first time you were on, and that was WrestleMania season earlier this year. Yes. Believe it or not. So certainly your reappearance is long overdue, but we are so grateful for you. Brad, I think we're going to jump into the big weekend for WWE. We had a pretty massive Survivor Series show, so I'm going to pass it to you to give us the rundown here.
Okay, we had the women's War Games match, and looking at some of these times, I was trying to explain it as I was navigating, hanging out with the fam who was visiting, and also watching the show, and then picking and choosing my areas. And I was like, well, that's how long the show was. And I was like, well, there's 5 matches. Oh, there's not that many. And I was like, well, it's a War Games match, and there's a lot of people in there, and there's time limitations, and it's not short. 39:40 was the runtime for the women's War Games match. Team Bel Air came out on top. AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. 18:25. We knew there was going to be some tomfoolery on the outside of the ring, and there was. The fight went into the crowd with Dom and with Priest, and then the Good Brothers, and we had AJ Styles beating Finn Balor. Ronda Rousey defeated Shotzi. It's all I have to say. Austin Theory defeated Seth freaking Rollins and the almighty Bobby Lashley in a great 1450 match. That match was so much fun. And then the Bloodline, probably something we're going to spend a great deal of time talking about today. The Bloodline defeated the Brawling Brutes team with Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens in a culmination of a story that's been ongoing for months now between Sami and Jay and Sami and Kevin Owens. All great stuff. Great way to close the show. Really fun show for my money, I guess, since I didn't pay for it. It's a great deal, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that it was. I guess we should start with the first match. We'll just go in chronological order here. So for the women's War Games match, like you said, Brad, Team Belair was victorious. Let me start by saying I was so wrong on my predictions for the show. I got onto Twitter and confidently, incorrectly predicted this match. I thought Team Damage Control was going to go over. In my mind, they were due for a really big win here, but that did not turn out to be the case. So I guess my first question for both of you guys, and Donnie, please kick us off here. Okay. What were your thoughts on the women's War Games match? And my question specifically for you is your takeaway from this match, is the focus more about Bianca and Becky having this triumphant return and both of them are on top of the women's division again? Or is it more about Damage Control losing another big non-Saudi match after their awesome debut at SummerSlam a few months ago?
Okay. That's an interesting question. I will say first, before they announced Becky as the last member of Bianca's team, I was fully leaning toward Team Damage Control winning the War Games. But once Becky came on, I'm like, her first match back, Survivor Series, they're not going to allow her to, be the loser. I really feel like it was more, her comeback was more of establishing herself as, yes, I'm the man again, and trying to give Bianca more of a rub that she might have lost over the past couple months because of this drawn out feud with Damage Control. So I think there was a concerted effort to make sure that the spotlight at the end of the match was Bianca and Becky both standing triumphantly. Now on the other end with the other question, the Damage Control, they take way too many losses. Bayley herself, I was worried that once again she's returning, so you want to have her return at a top level, but everybody knew it was nowhere near the time to take the belt off Bianca. So it was almost like she was going into that, everybody knowing that, all right, they're not changing the belt. But I believe that the matches that they had, especially that the last one they had, was it the last man standing, last woman standing. Right. It was a great match. So they've had great matches, but Bayley just keeps on losing. And I guess the bottom line, I see coming out of this, I see Becky and Bayley having their rivalry, having their little mini feud. But Bianca, that's the question mark, because I don't believe it's time for her and Rhea yet, unless they're going to drag it out to the Royal Rumble. It all depends on if and when Charlotte comes back. Because if Charlotte comes back and she comes back to Raw, because I have a philosophy I'll talk about later, but she comes back to Raw, then I could see that being a WrestleMania match. So I think Rhea probably be before that'll probably be the Royal Rumble match, even though Rhea should be held until after WrestleMania, if she's not going to be the WrestleMania match with Bianca. So there's a lot of different rivalries that came out, but like I said, I'm kind of monopolizing the time. So yeah, that's my question. I mean, that's my answer.
Yeah. Well, and I know this is going to make Brad happy, and I'll pass it to him next. to me, if there were someone, if Bianca has to lose the title at some point, if you can't just keep it for the rest of eternity, which would make me happy, I think Rhea should be the person to take the belt off the EST. And they have a history at the Royal Rumble. I remember they were in the final two a year or so ago. They're just so incredibly talented.
That's why she got the match with Sasha at WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. I think them having a Royal Rumble, a prominent Royal Rumble match for the title would be awesome. What you said, Donnie, about Charlotte coming in and thus definitely be inserted most likely in a title picture makes sense. I would just really love Rhea versus Bianca at Rumble. Agreed. Maybe run it back at Mania. I think there is absolute money in that feud. But Brad, what say you on this one?
As far as the match goes, I don't really care if Damage Control lost. They are taking too many losses as a team because Dakota and Io are champs. Bayley's pretty bulletproof in terms of legacy. The thing that surprised me is that we got this new iteration of Nikki Cross, and the first big thing she did was lose. She's been attacking people, but not really doing anything. And you take this thing that's supposed to be, I guess, a threatening, new, crazed, unhinged, I don't really understand this character very much, Nikki Cross, who's kind of like her own old version, but not. I don't really know what's happening, but I'm interested in seeing it play out because I love Nikki Cross. But that was not a great start. And then you have a totally disinterested looking Alexa Bliss, which makes me think at the end there, either it's because she's really unhappy with creative and wasn't able to just pretend, or that's a way for her to be like, I'm not happy. And it's setting up a potential feud with Alexa and Bianca because Alexa's tired of being somebody's teammate and wants it for herself again. So I could see any of those things happening. My pick actually, not for the women's title match at Rumble, because I think you're dead on. I think Rhea and Bianca make a ton of sense, and you could run it back. I think if we're looking at people that are just really big, Charlotte's not back yet, but Raquel's right there, and Raquel and maybe Rhea or Charlotte being in the final 2 or 3 in the Rumble make a lot of sense, and I can see Raquel getting her chance to go in and do something. I don't think she wins. I think Rhea's the most believable there, but I can see Raquel winning at some point because she's a monster. So I don't know what'll happen. And that's, Rumble's in like a little over a month. It's like a month and a half now, right? Almost 2 months. January. It was January 20 something, right?
Mm-hmm. January. Yeah.
Yeah. So two months basically. Okay, so almost exactly 2 months from when the show launches, and they could build something by then. It's a long time, but I always try to convince myself that it's a long time, and then I realize, no, that's not. That's like 7 shows in the go home show,
right?
So I don't really know if that is a long time unless they build it both on SmackDown and on Raw. And for all I know, it'll end up being Bianca versus Ronda for an undisputed belt situation, kind of like Roman, which I wish they would change the names of the women's titles. It feels like they're lowering it, lessening it, because it's the champion of Raw. They basically gave women TV titles instead of world championship titles just by naming them Raw or SmackDown. And I don't like that. When you have the Universal and the WWE championships, but then you have SmackDown and Raw championships for the women, just call them the Women's Universal Championship. It's not that hard. But anyway, that's for another time. I didn't love this match. I didn't hate this match. There were a lot of great moments, a lot of great spots. We talked off air, but I'm not a big fan in any match where you're getting gimmicks that take a half an hour to get set up and ready for the match. That it takes us out of the match, kills all momentum, and makes us think like, wow, they're setting up tables. Wow, they're getting ladders. Wow, cool. I can't throw a trash can over the ropes. It's like we start focusing on stuff we shouldn't be focusing on when there's a lot of great work being done in the ring. And it always bothers me because I want to see those talents. There were a couple of spots in the match I was like, holy bleep. I knew we were getting Io in a trash can at some point. Like
I thought Io really showed out.
I thought so too. She was great.
Yeah, I got her right here. I thought she was great. I know there was that one awkward spot where she like lifted herself on the ropes and
for the
slipped to the
knees.
side.
People booed.
Which like how about any of you try
that? Was
how about
that was 6 or 7 minutes into the match? Like
of course it obviously looked awkward, but I thought she just delivered. I think she's been an absolute MVP of every War Games match she's been in.
Yeah, I like Dakota in this match too. I thought it was smart to have Dakota start.
Yes.
She got her ass tossed in the beginning of this match. Bianca was just handling
Bianca was phenomenal. Once again.
she was great. She was probably the best part of this match. That Becky leg drop. My God. That
I was
Becky
scared.
Tony, what'd you think?
I was too.
I was scared. I'm like, she's either gonna blow out a hip or she maybe just trying to brace the fold. She's gonna mess up a shoulder again because this is the first time back.
Yes, I know.
And she
first time back.
She audibly said at the end, she's like, "Oh, that felt good. It feels good to be back."
Yeah.
She hit that on the tag champs, right? On Dakota and Io, if I'm not mistaken.
On both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just always have an issue with champs being pinned in these sorts of matches, but the spot was amazing. I couldn't agree more with you guys.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it. I was probably a little bit less critical on in terms of my enjoyment of it. But Brad, you bring up a really good point about, I remember Bayley taking out those ladders. And you're so right. That was noticeable. Even as much as I was enjoying the spots, that was noticeable that it was taking Bayley a long time. And like you said, Brad, we're not necessarily faulting Bayley, the performer. But no, I think you said this before we recorded. Ladders are awkward, especially when you're trying to do this in front of thousands of people in a timely manner. But Io showed out. Bianca showed out. Again, I didn't like that last spot, Becky going on damage control. Just really didn't want them taking the loss. I would rather... You bring up a good point about Nikki Cross reemerging here and this being a big moment for her. I think I would rather have Nikki Cross take that pin rather than Dakota or Io. To me, Rhea is her. I think Rhea needs to be that next challenger. Yes. So I definitely don't want Rhea taking a pin. I think she delivered in this match as the kind of the hoss for the heel women's team. But other than Nikki taking the pin instead of damage control, I really enjoyed this match. You're right, though. Some of the spots took a long time, and I don't think this is going to go down as the best women's War Games match by any means. But I enjoyed this.
It was great. Show. Yeah, I'm being critical here of something I really liked.
Of course,
you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Like because the men's had stuff like this too, and there's always this.
Yes, it did.
AEW does this a lot too. If they have gimmick matches like this, just people taking forever to get it ready. One of those things, the tables weren't working, and they had to have help from the ref to set up a table. And I was like, okay, now the ref is in the match. Like, the ref is okay with this table spot. It's just he's helping. So it's kind of dumb, but I think last thought here is they could have shot it differently and just spent more time on the ring. The refs could have said like, hey, get up and whoop their ass or something. Fill time. Bayley's taking too long. And that's all you had to say is Bayley's getting ladders. Kevin Dunn can easily hammer that button he hammers for 8,000 shots in a second. And it would have been fine. Like, quick jump back so we could see Bayley getting ready, but then focus on the ring action. Otherwise, we're literally watching somebody load ladders, for God's sake. Like,
it's like you're watching a work site, I believe was the quote you had earlier today.
It's like watching a construction job live.
Exactly. I was really happy to see Mia Yim in this spot, though. I know we haven't mentioned her yet, but of course I want good things for her. I was really happy that she got this moment, and hopefully that's just leading to bigger and better for her, WWE stint part 2.
I feel like it was probably a little early to put her in that spot because the crowd still doesn't know her. Like she had her NXT run. She was released. She went to Impact, and to think that WWE fans, WWE people that are WWE loyalists aren't watching Impact. Yeah. I'm not. I'm peeping Impact on the timeline.
I was gonna say I say she had a great run. This is strictly from me looking at Twitter, not ordering any of the pay-per-views.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Clips,
like,
she looked amazing. She looked amazing in those
clips. Yeah, she looked great, and that's all I got because I liked her earlier stuff. I think she's a great talent, and I think having her, would she show up a week ago? 2 weeks ago, and
a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
it's only 2 weeks to be like, oh, we got somebody else. And then Mia Yim showed up, and then they're like, the mystery partner got announced on Friday, but which is how we knew it wasn't Sasha. The Mia Yim thing showing up, I was like, all right, this is cool. I love Mia. This will be great. But then when she came out of that cage to thunderous nothing, I was like, all right, it's the crowd doesn't know her yet. And it's not fair to her at all. That's just not a spot she should have been put in. But she could have been if they simply would have built it out a little bit longer, or had to wrestle a couple of matches before her debut into that War Games match.
Yeah, so true. Well, then we have these 3 matches that were sandwiched in between the women's War Games and the men's War Games. So, Brad, as you mentioned, we saw AJ Styles defeat Finn Balor. Ronda Rousey defeats Shotzi. She retains her SmackDown Women's Championship. And then Austin Theory, surprisingly to me, I want to hear what you guys thought. Surprisingly to me, Austin Theory reclaims the United States Championship. He defeats Seth freaking Rollins and Bobby Lashley. Donnie, I want to pass it to you here. Takeaways. I think the 3 of us agree that Ronda versus Shotzi was forgettable, perhaps. But what were your thoughts on what were your thoughts on the middle?
You need to watch YouTube, please, people. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's where the money is. Absolutely. Yeah. We love Donnie. Donnie, what were your thoughts on the middle of this card with these 3 matches? What stood out to you?
Okay. Well, the Shotzi Ronda match, if you want to call it a match, was a glaring example of 2 individual wrestlers who need their opponent to be more experienced, to be the leader, to be the ring general. Ronda has a problem selling. So even when Shotzi was halfway competent in her work, Ronda didn't sell it the proper way. So it made Shotzi look weak. Shotzi isn't, to me, on the level to be able to carry their opponent, so it was just a bad mesh of styles. The ending was never in doubt. And Ronda, once again, even though she's slightly more entertaining having Shayna Baszler to play off of, I just can't wait until Ronda's finished with this contract so she can go back home and, take care of family. I don't want to sound sexist, so I'm not gonna go in that avenue, but Ronda just doesn't seem like she really has any type of energy of wanting to be there. She still feels like she's in the feelings about being booed in her last stint, and that's why she kind of came back this time and excelling as a heel. The other match, the triple threat was amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
The triple threat was amazing. Because I was about to lose my train of thought dealing with Ronda, because I probably gave them more minutes than probably needed to be. But the triple threat was amazing. Like, it did not surprise me that Theory ended up winning, and the way that the way they did the finish was the best way to get Theory the championship, because pretty much he capitalized on the 2 more established wrestlers their mistake. And it wasn't really a mistake. It was, oh shoot, he speared him. He's not in position. Let me pin him. 1, 2, 3. And it I'm really speechless when it comes to this match. That match blew my expectations out the water. It was fast paced. How long was the match again?
1450. Right? Yeah, 1450.
It was the shortest out of all the singles matches.
No, Ronda and Shotzi was 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
Okay.
And that was too long.
Yeah, they should.
AJ and Finn went pretty long as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they would have shaved 5 minutes from AJ and Finn and gave it to this match,
100%.
I think you would have brought the levels up for both matches.
Yeah, AJ and Finn did not. I thought their first match from a few years ago was far better than this.
I agree.
And of course, like, we were all younger back then and maybe a little more spry. But that match, I was a little disappointed with that. I thought AJ would win, but it didn't hit those high notes that their first encounter did for me.
I have a question. Kind of divert off the question, but still. What do y'all how do y'all feel about AJ Styles' ring work over the last couple years? Because to me, his matches haven't lived up to expectations since the Nakamura series was underwhelming. The Kevin Owens series was underwhelming. Then he got mixed up with the OC, the original OC, before they got released. So he was kind of just like waving around.
He did the stuff with Taker.
Stuff with Taker was good, but it wasn't really in work. That was cinematic.
I was going to say, as far as in-ring work goes, yeah, it's definitely dropped off a bit. His character stuff is great though. Like, I think they're relying on him being competent in the ring and working with other people to make them look better than what he looks like. Cause I thought the same. He's slowed down a lot. And I mean, the dude's upper 40s at this point. So like,
I just Googled that. I didn't realize he's 45.
I thought he was older than that.
Wow.
I knew he was in his, I mean, he was wrestling in TNA in what, 2000?
WCW, right? Yeah,
yeah. So like,
Finn's in his 40s as well.
Yeah, Finn's early 40s, right?
Ageless, yeah.
Yeah, both of them are in their 40s,
41, I believe.
And it's not like AG doesn't have an absurd amount of mileage on him. All the stuff, like think about all the classic stuff he did with Joe, and just all of these matches that were like, I'm going to jump off of things and land hard kind of matches. And I'm with you. His in-ring work hasn't been great. WWE, though, I think they concern themselves less with that. Like, it's why somebody like Bray Wyatt can exist. And I don't care if his in-ring work looks like top New Japan style, fast-paced, perfect technical right. I don't care. Like, that part doesn't bother me nearly as much as I want to see him go out there, do the spot in the corner where he flips upside down, Sister Abigail a dude into the mat, and then 1, 2, 3, and then eat their soul. Like, that's what I was looking for The Fiend. I was looking for Bray Wyatt on the mic, talking mad trash and saying all of this stuff and just being unbelievably creepy, but undeniably charismatic. And I think AJ still brings a lot of that stuff, especially on the mic. Like, I popped when he brought back the Good Brothers. Like, I don't even care that the Good Brothers are back, but I loved when he was like, I wasn't talking to you. That was such a great little moment. The delivery, all of that. What I thought about that match is the best part of the match was all the selling in terms of facial expressions and the after a spot selling by Finn and AJ, the screaming, the holding the parts, and just like making sure you're selling that thing throughout the match. I thought it was like a real kind of masterclass in how to sell. I thought all of the offense was just sort of boring, and I thought the pacing of the match was meh. It was very a predictable Judgment Day with outside ring people match. Like, it was just very predictable what was going to happen here. I thought Finn might get the win. The only thing was up in the air was Finn or AJ, because neither of them need it, and it will hurt neither of them. So it was like, it doesn't really matter. Finn doesn't need it. AJ doesn't need it. And if they win, who cares? Because it was a grudge match. And there's no ranking system in WWE, so it didn't really matter to me. Ronda and Shotzi. Did anybody have questions about who was going to win? Seven. The best part of this was Shayna's reactions on the outside. Austin Theory versus Seth freaking Rollins and Bobby Lashley was my favorite match of the evening. It was not my favorite moment of the evening, but it was my favorite match of the evening. I thought it was the best wrestling of the night. I thought psychology wise, it all made a ton of sense. Everything worked, everything clicked, and all three of those dudes have really good chemistry with each other. And it's probably because they've been working each other separately for so long. It feels like they've all been fighting each other for about 2 or 3 months on and off, that they probably were going to work. Plus, they're all really good in the ring. The Austin Theory winning was absolutely a Shawn Michaels return beating Triple H finish, where Michaels was dead. hit the super kick after tuning up the band, even though I don't think he did in that spot, but kicked Triple H in the face and they both collapsed. But Michaels landed on top of Triple H and got the 1, 2, 3. He was unconscious, but he won. That's what happened here because Theory was dead. Remember, he was out and he was getting suplexed by Seth, and then Bobby hit him, and then Theory just kind of fell on Seth. So it wasn't like an intentional cover. It was just Theory died on top of Seth and won the belt. And I freaking loved that. It was that, like you said, Donnie, it was the perfect way for Theory to win the belt. I'm here for it. That match got me fired up. I loved every second of it, and I didn't think I was going to care. Triple H, once again, has made the mid-card titles matter. I was excited for this match because of the belt, because it had stakes, because it was 3 talented dudes hossing each other around the ring. It was just so good.
Yeah, it's a big look for Austin Theory. I know he's been gaining some momentum, I think, amongst the fan base, who are really critical of him and his Money in the Bank run and the epic booking failure that was him losing that briefcase.
Great. He's great.
I think he's a big winner from the night. I think this could really turn around his not credibility, but just how the fan base perceives him. I mean, he could remain a heel certainly, but I think the way we talk about him may shift a bit. Any additional thoughts there, Donnie?
Darn. There was one thing. Back to the AJ Finn match. I believe Finn needed the win more than AJ. I believe AJ is at that point due to his diminished work rate in the ring, that he's more personality based, which is storyline based. He can be more bulletproof of a loss. Finn is still the quote unquote leader of this faction that's still trying to gain credibility. Right now, their credibility is based on Rhea. That's the Judgment Day credibility. It's based on Rhea. Rhea's actually the leader.
Yes, 100%.
You know, and the storyline with Rhea and Dominic, that's what's really getting that group over. But to maintain that, maintain that overness, for a lack of a better term, I believe Finn needed this win to pretty much put the OC feud behind them, go to the next one. What, we're gonna draw this out to Royal Rumble? Like, to me, I'm tired of seeing these two groups. So that's
I'm so sick of it. I feel like that was the end of it. My hope, to your point, is that we on Monday, I think it's Monday, we have Judgment Day come to address their enemies or something, and they turn on Finn, and Finn is out. I want to see. I just want to see him go back to being babyface Finn. He's so much better that way. His entrance rules. I'm fine with him doing something different, but I like this run with Rhea, and Rhea just straight up take over. Because, like, the whole point of putting Finn with those other people are to build those other people.
Yeah.
Rhea gives credibility to everybody. She's a former champ. You got Finn in there, who's the first Universal champ and would have beat Roman Reigns had God not intervened inexplicably on a turnbuckle. And then you have Damian Priest, who is a former mid-card champ, and also Dominic is there. This is to build Dominic and kind of build Priest, which I don't feel like it's necessary, but it's pretty clear they're trying to build Dominic as a credible person and get him out of Ray's way by putting him in Ray's way. Like, I just stop already. I get it.
What did you guys? Sorry to interject, Brad. What did you guys think of that video that WWE tweeted and they showed it at Survivor Series? Ray invading his family's Thanksgiving
most
dinner.
Watched, I believe, in a 24-hour period.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
I kind of popped for that.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sick of seeing it.
Yeah, the first invasion of the home and the punches popped me, and then like attacking his Ray's ankle with the broom and stuff. Maybe a little bit too much for me. I felt a little bad for Ray, but
of course, I like that he put the mask on to answer the door.
That was good.
You could see him like adjusting it, like he was.
Yeah,
cameras are here. Hold on, like
he always has it on standby.
He's got it hanging up on a coat rack next to the door.
Yes.
In case he needs to beat somebody's ass.
Yes.
Like mistletoe.
great selling by Ray,
Yeah.
though. He really
Yeah.
turned it around for me. I was enjoying it. It's like, oh, this is perfect pro wrestling. Then by the end, I was like, oh man, but my heart kind of goes out to Ray right now.
Yeah.
I hope he's okay. So great job. I think that was the best Dominic has looked in quite some time, frankly.
Yeah.
Was
He was
you know,
like, "Mommy, you don't want to meet mommy?"
exactly.
Yeah.
It worked for me.
I liked it a lot because his character's been kind of, it's better than it was.
Yeah.
Oh, much better.
Going to the Judgment Day. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So again, that group exists to build the other talent so that when they go off and do their own thing, you can actually go, oh, these are credible people. And Dominic has been kind of vanilla pudding for me up until joining the Judgment Day, and he's better. But this group is just, I love the entrance, and then they come out, and I'm like, maybe I don't really care.
Now, one last thing. Dominic, like in storyline, not in real life, but in storyline, going back to the Eddie situation, it was which guy? Oh,
His dad,
Ray
yeah.
only won custody,
Right.
but it's technically Dominic is Eddie's child. So all this is coming out. That is. I swear, this is all Eddie coming out of. You know what? You don't like my mommy? Mommy, you don't like my I swear. Even the feud,
the hairstyle,
goes back. Like it's good storytelling for people that pick it up.
Yeah, like the only thing I can see happening here that would sorry, I just laughed thinking about it. It was like, imagine him coming out wearing an LWO shirt. And then like Conan comes out the back and just orale, and the crowd goes mild. Yeah, yes, I would be here for it. I think it would be a fun shift and a good homage to the past. Never gonna happen, but I think it would be cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, guys, I think it's time to discuss the main event, and I know both of you will have a lot of thoughts on this one. So, as mentioned, the Bloodline was victorious. I was wrong about this. You have the Twitter receipts to prove it. They did defeat the Brawling Brutes. This match was just under 40 minutes, just short of the women's match by about a minute, 38 minutes as opposed to 39 minutes. But this obviously was a marathon. And the real story here is the last sequence of this match, in which Sami Zayn low blows Kevin Owens, hits him with a haluva kick, lays him out perfectly for main event Jey Uso to come off the top rope, splash onto KO, 1, 2, 3. Bloodline is victorious. Jey embraces Sami, this moment we've been waiting for months. He bear hugs him, lifts him up. Sami's feet are off the ground. It's like when you hit the game-winning shot in 6th grade and your family member picks you up. It was a moment. Roman has acknowledged Sami. It would appear that Sami has now fully been accepted into the Bloodline by all members. Brad, Donnie, where to begin here? What did you guys think of the finish of this match? Sami Uso is over, and he's been acknowledged. Brad, you want to kick us off with this one?
Sure. This is the best storytelling of the night, far and away. It's not even close. The Sami KO Bloodline storyline, Sami and Jey, they did a masterful job of trying to
video. Donnie's got the merch.
Yeah. Sort of culminating all of this Jey Sami beef that's been ongoing by raising it to a fever pitch in a very simple segment this Friday, right? Just Sami and KO talking in the hallway with the door just cracked open just a little bit with Jey listening in. What I find hilarious about all of this, though, doesn't Sami know that like there's video of this? Are the cameras not supposed? I'm not really sure. Like, they acknowledge the camera, they'll talk into the camera, but the cameras aren't there and they don't exist. A very confusing part of it for me was like he was breaking the fourth wall, but didn't know. I don't know what was happening there. So it bugs me a little bit that Sami would lie when he was caught in high definition. And then Roman being like, "Is that really what happened?" And it's like, well, just look at the goddamn tape. It's right there. Like, it was filmed. You didn't see the giant cameraman? So it didn't, whatever. That part bugged me a little bit because they removed the believability, but I loved what they did to set it up to be like, he's lying and he got caught lying. And then it was, did you lie? Or did you really talk to him? You know what? I did, Roman. I did talk to him. This is what we talked about. I loved it because then it went in like, we don't really know. And Roman telling Jay, you got to watch my back out there. You got to be my right-hand man just in case things go sideways. And then during the match, Jay accidentally maybe kicked Sami in the face and knocked him flat. And I thought at that moment, oh man, I was wrong. This is when the turn's happening. I was wrong. I picked the Bloodline to win, and I was wrong because they're going to turn on him. They're going to beat his ass after he cost them the victory and boot him from the Bloodline. Instead, Sami's the reason they win. Low blow city. Haluva kick. Great haluva kick, too. That was an awesome, very short burst. Like, you could see him really trying to decide what to do. And then he flung himself. Fredo moment here. Like, I know it was you, Fredo, and he broke my heart. The way that Sami was acting, my God, give that man an award. The trembling lips, the tears, the Roman hug, where Sami was sobbing, like legit sobbing, and then the Jay moment, the crowd went nuts. Right now, I was yelling in my room. I was in the house yelling, "Let's effing go!" by myself, nobody here. I was stoked. I loved this. And on top of that, we had some really great wrestling in this match. The beats, the 20 beats that happened, but it was the stereo beats where the entire Brawling Brutes started slamming on chests through the whole thing. When Roman came in and we finally got War Games and he just Superman punched everybody and knocked them all flat and was the only one in the ring standing, that ruled. Man, I love this match so much. This was such a fun way to end the card. I still think the wrestling was better in the triple threat, but it's a War Games match and you're not going to get all that stuff in a War Games match. But I just loved this so much. The storyline was so good. I felt it culminated in a really beautiful way that makes me excited to see what's next for the Bloodline with Sami Zayn. Does he get official Oos as a T now? Because those new Bloodline tees are pretty dope. And I don't know that they need to have another one, but they'll probably do it.
Why not?
Yeah, why the hell not? So yeah, I loved everything about it. Could it have been cleaner and tighter? Probably, but I can't think of any specific spots except for one, and I'm going to leave that alone. I'll leave it sitting out on the ridge, if you will, and then I'll pass it off, Donnie, to you. What are your thoughts?
Well, this just listening to your recap and your thoughts on it, I'm legitimately tearing up right now because I'm visualizing what happened last night. Like last night I'm at my shoot job and I'm popping all over the place and I'm watching it, albeit my little smart screen, but I'm watching it and I'm like, this is masterpiece theater. This is masterpiece theater. Like you said, the conflict, you could see the inner turmoil in Sami. Like, that's my friend. I know he's trying. I love him, but I have a family now. Like he's finally gotten that acceptance, and he knows this is one last thing that he will be totally in. And he's like, you know what? I'm not letting you get in my way. You've been in my way since NXT. You've stolen opportunity after opportunity from me. I'm not allowing you to mess this up. And that pull, that emotional pull to it. But before because anybody knows me, I lose train of thought like this. I have to get this little tidbit in concerning the storyline, but not so much concerning the actual work. They had 3 backstage skits, 3 backstage segments leading up to this match, right? So you had Roman and Jay discussing what happened on Friday, and you see Paul Heyman is in the background of all these segments, and non-verbally, he's eating scenery. If you really pay attention to what Paul Heyman is doing, it's just very subtle with his eyes, maybe an occasional lean forward, and the dynamic between Jay and Roman telling Jay pretty much what Brad said. Then you had the second segment with Sami and Jay, and you see Paul Heyman in the background again, pretty much determining whether Sami is telling the truth and whether Roman is on the same wavelength. And then you have the end when pretty much they're like, look, in other words, we're family. If something goes wrong out there, you take his head off. And Paul's in the background. Subtle. You probably wouldn't even be able to know. It's like I went back and watched it over last night to prepare for this, and with focus on those segments, focus directly on him. Just listening to the audio, but directly on him. And I was amazed. I'm like, this is masterpiece. But there's also another thing in the storyline, especially based on what started happening Friday night, that depending on what vantage point you're looking at it, it's not black and white. It's not bad guy, good guy, face heel. Every individual in this storyline can be determined. It can be looked at as the face or the heel. The bloodline, Jay's main concern is this is our family. He's an outsider. I see things that he's doing that can potentially take us down. We're the undisputed tag champions. You're the tribal chief. You're the head of the table, and he can potentially cost us all this. Roman, it's like, okay, and he expressly said it last night in the last segment before they went out. We're family. We have to protect family. Now, that's the Bloodline's point of view. Sami's point of view is, okay, this group has, I've repped this group, and this group is finally accepting me. All right, even though they're having inner turmoil, they're accepting me. The majority of them accept me except for Jay. So I'm going to do anything to maintain this acceptance. Kevin Owens, the quote-unquote good guy, and I love Kevin Owens. In storyline, him and Sami hasn't been seeing eye and eye for the last year and a half. Why is he putting in Sami's head when Sami's happy? Well, they're going to turn on you, so why don't you turn on them before they turn on you first? Is that really? Yeah, that's being proactive, but Sami hasn't done anything to KO. Pretty much, he's told him on numerous occasions, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. He's butting his nose in business that has nothing to do with him. Now, when ultimately Sami does get his head taken off, he would be the sympathetic figure because it'll be like he's done all this. He pretty much punched his friend in the jewels for this group, and this group ended up taking his head off. So he'll end up being a sympathetic figure. But every angle you look at, they could be a face. And I'll leave it at that.
You bring up so many great points, Donnie. What jumped out to me most was you saying that depending on your vantage point, any of these people could be the babyface. You could say KO is the babyface, or you could say the Bloodline is the babyface. I think about the rich history that Sami and KO have in NXT and on the main roster. Kevin Owens, admittedly as a character, is not squeaky clean. This dude has been an absolute snake. I even think of the match him and Sami had in NXT. I forget which takeover this was, but the match had to be stopped because Kevin Owens was beating up Sami Zayn too much. And Owens, I think, became the new champion. So they have a history here, and they've not always been on the same side of things. Of course, we can go all the way back to ROH, Steen versus Generico. Like you, I think this ends up, the money in this storyline is it ends up being Owens and Zayn reuniting to take the titles off the Usos. To me, that has WrestleMania written all over it. But I did not expect last night to end the way it did. I did not think the Bloodline was going to come together. I thought last night was going to be the first sign of us seeing them coming apart, really, and Sami costing them the match. So I absolutely love that I was wrong here, guys. I thought them going with the all red, as you mentioned, Brad, was a great decision. It gave me NWO Wolfpack vibes.
Yes, 100%. Yeah,
in the best way possible. And frankly, I mean this sincerely to you both. When I saw their gear, I thought to myself, there's no way these guys are losing this match. This is too money. They are still so over with the crowd. I mean, the crowd was treating them as baby faces. I should have seen this coming. I love everything going on here. And just what a monumental night for Sami Zayn. This guy had he was not being booked in anything meaningful for years on the main roster. He was just a solid mid-card guy.
Yeah, 100%.
I think the three of us love him so much, and I'm just astounded that he has risen to this level where he is the main talking point of a main event of Survivor Series. I'm just euphoric that he is getting this moment.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like this is Sami Zayn's time. We got to see him as the conspiracy theorist, the Intercontinental Champion. His run before that with the short hair, his NXT stuff, all of these different versions of Sami Zayn. This one's my favorite because we're seeing such incredible character work from him on top of his already excellent in-ring stuff. And I'm glad that the masses are getting to see him rather than just being this guy that's also there. and I think the days of let's do a thing just so we can pop the old man are just sort of over. And I'm fine with it. I'm good with it.
Yeah. To wrap this up, I think the three of us agree that this was a success, especially compared to last year's Survivor Series. And Donnie, we'll give you the final word before we transition our conversation. You were in attendance for last year's Survivor Series. That was the mystery of the egg. It seemed like we were being teased that The Rock was going to be there. The whole night was honoring The Rock, and yet he never showed. I don't mean to bring up your traumatic past here, Donnie, but I think the three of us can agree Survivor Series 2022 War Games was a vast improvement from last year.
Oh, it was above and beyond. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. When I heard from, let's say, 3-4 months out that The Rock possibly, because it's the anniversary, he's going, the anniversary of his first Survivor Series. That Survivor Series happened in the Garden. This one's happening in Brooklyn. It's 15 minutes away. I can get there. It's not a problem. I looked there. I looked up the tickets. I found some tickets. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. I took my daughter, Kay.
Shout out, Kay.
And to just the abomination of that show. The only good thing about this show was to actually just being in attendance, because that was the first pay-per-view that I ever attended, so that was like an experience. But even more so, just the opportunity to actually have my daughter with me for her to experience that. That's something that can never be taken away from us. So that was a good thing. But that's one show I still on the network, well, not on the network, on Peacock, that I don't go back and watch.
Who can blame you? Brad and I were furious after that show.
So pissed.
You basically promised us The Rock. We all worked ourselves into a shoot with the help of the company, and then you don't deliver. And by the way, in retrospect, Big E absolutely should have won that main event. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it wasn't for the title. I mean, they could have. Look, I'm strictly Bloodline. I'm strictly Roman Reigns, but he could have lost last week. Last year he could have lost.
I think so. Brad called that last year. I was not about it, Donnie, but in hindsight, I think I agree with Brad there. I think Big E could have picked up that win, but this is an improvement. So I think that's a huge positive for the company.
Totally agree.
Well, speaking of positives, I think, Brad, we're going to transition our conversation. Would it be GI if we didn't touch on the other major wrestling promotion, the second most popular by many metrics? That is All Elite Wrestling, AEW. So some headlines from the week here. We had a very interesting opening to Dynamite. William Regal came out. He is now effectively a heel. He turned his back on the Blackpool Combat Club. Danielson and Mox entered the ring later. Surprisingly, Danielson defended Regal and urged Mox not to attack him. Mox says, Regal, you need to go and never come back. We know we're promised MJF this week. In other news, Jamie Hayter has the interim tag removed from her title reign. So she is the women's champion now, which I think makes two of my favorite guys here very happy.
Yes, and Tony Storm retroactively. Important.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Tony is recognized.
Yeah, I guess
here
they gotta
as well.
do that.
Yeah. Red Velvet is back. Kiera Hogan is out of the baddies. Jericho, Chris Jericho, the Ocho, our ROH champion, beat Ishii in what I dubbed a sneakily fun main event to Dynamite. 10 turned on the Dark Order on Rampage. We saw FTR versus Top Flight. I think the main takeaway, though, for a lot of fans was the Elite versus Death Triangle, the second of their best of 7 trios feud. The Elite lost. They pulled out some of CM Punk's, I guess you could say, greatest hits, much to the dismay of the Chicago crowd, but they ended up losing the Death Triangle. They are now down 2-0 in that series. So, guys, that was a lot, right? I threw a lot out at you there. So, Donnie, my question, though, isn't necessarily about this week in AEW, although if you want to touch on that, by all means, please do. But I share a DM with you and Brad, and I know that you've taken some umbrage, if you will, with AEW, with their booking, with some of the seemingly behind-the-scenes controversy going on over the last few months. So we want to start the conversation with this. Brad and I want to know what is working well for you as a fan watching AEW right now, and then also, and this might be the bulk of your energy spent on this second part, and that's totally okay, what is not working well for you in AEW right now?
Okay. I'm going to try to keep it as straight and forward. As we was discussing off air, the majority of my displeasure with AEW is the fact that almost like a mission statement that they had was at the very beginning, they said it was going to be more sports-based product. They were going to be a true alternative to WWE. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm WWE through and through. Like, that's what I grew up on. But I did grow up on Jim Crockett, old NWA, and that mindset. And I loved that because that was a true alternative to WWF at the time. Like, to me, when I was growing up, when I was little, I thought NWA was real and WWE was, play. They got a cartoon, they got toys, but NWA, they was going, they were bleeding, they were taking them out in the parking lot, smashing Dusty's hand in the car door, beating him with a bat. That was real to me. So when they said that they were going to try to fashion it somewhat that era, somewhat of the old Jim Watts, Mid-South type of wrestling, that's what brought me aboard, especially along with the Elite themselves, the Bucks, Kenny, Page, Cody, because I followed them through New Japan and Ring of Honor and being the Elite. So when they got together to make AEW, I'm like, great. They had the press conference. I had a time set for the press conference. I was really all in. They was going along, going down the line with wrestlers benefits and medical, and we're gonna be all inclusive, which up until recently that has been a problem. I'll give them credit with Swerve and Lee and the Acclaimed and Jade. They have been better, so I can't knock them for that. That's a lot of my displeasure overall. My things that I do like are the fact that in ring, the majority of the time, they're gonna put a 4-star, 5-star matches. Now, when the storyline and the in ring are equal, it's magic. a lot of times, especially recently, the storyline is lacking, but the matches are still outstanding. I can see that if I want to go into archives and look back on for great matches. I need something to keep me engaged. And more specifically, and I'll lead this will be my last point. This past Wednesday, like, I'm a CM Punk fan. Like, that's me through and through. Like, I would not say that CM Punk doesn't have a lot of ish with himself, because there was times that before he left, I'm like, do you really need to speak on any and everything that happens in the WWE? He was vocal on the Sasha and Naomi walkout, which, yeah, on that time he was on the popular side of speaking out. Then he got jumped to conclusions with Brock Lesnar when it was reported that he had walked out when Vince had left. But still, neither here nor there. So I am critical of him. Whatever happened at Brawl Out, that's what happened. But as recently as I think that morning of this past Wednesday, Kenny Omega had an interview with Sports Illustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, we can't really speak on the incident. Whatever happened, happened. We're trying to move forward, and we're just trying to give everybody the best show that we can. And then, yeah, I know they're in Chicago. I know they're playing heel. But to me, it was like overboard. You had the Bucks making fun of when CM Punk messed up the buckshot. Then you had Kenny doing the GTS, which I have no problem with. But then he had, before that, he was doing the biting because he got, accused. I think Ace Steel was accused of biting Kenny Omega in the melee. My thing is, that's contradictory to what you just put out in the media. Anybody who was on the fence, and maybe they're like, well, Punk's gripes were the elite are childish, they're passive aggressive, they do XYZ. All you did was just play into those this past Wednesday. And never mind about the fact of a best of 7. Usually a best of 7 is usually when, all right, the belts are held up or there was a disputed finish. They didn't go into the pay-per-view talking about, yeah, this is the first in a best of 7. After that match, they're like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do a best of 7. And Wednesday would be match number 2. For what? There was no reason. Why? Because they're going to be great? Why? Because therefore you could end up in Los Angeles and California, the Bucks' hometown, so they could be victorious. So you can kind of play the long game and saying, oh, well, they was going on suspension. Matter of fact, they were the champions. They got suspended, and then they come back and reclaim their gold. So now we're just playing the long game. It makes no sense. And yeah, I know I don't win it like 5 different ways, but yeah, that's my take.
I mean, Brad, I was gonna say you're not wrong with many of that. Much of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what AEW seems to do though. That's a TK thing, because otherwise Punk never would have been champion again. So they did the interim thing, and then he came back. He's like, I'm gonna fight Moxley, and I'm gonna take the championship. He immediately reclaimed it. I would have liked to have seen him lose and then win it a different way. That's kind of what they're doing here. I think it's a good send that that's going to happen. But the slow heel turn of Pac has been, I think, a way to break up Death Triangle down the line. Either that or make the Lucha Bros turn heel entirely, since they've been working that way, like reluctantly. But Jay was doing that in the Bloodline. Remember, he was a babyface until he wasn't. And I think that's kind of the way that they're going with Pac. So maybe it's more of a long-term play to get a babyface trios. And who knows? Maybe they lose. Maybe they do lose. And then they go, well, now what? And that would be great, because they did that with Jericho, the 5 labors of Jericho. He went through all of that hell and then lost. Like, he had that 5th match and he lost pretty handedly. And I did not expect that. I think everybody thought, well, he made it to the 5th labor, he's going to win. Nope, lost. So maybe we get swerved on that, but you're not wrong. In terms of ranking, I guess they could say, like, well, the championship was stripped for them, so they deserve the shot because they never lost it. that's an easy explanation for having it. But the best of 7 kind of randomly, like you said, it's why are we doing why now is this a best of 7 when we haven't ever done this before? It doesn't make sense to just sort of do it without an explanation, even though I'm here for the matches because they're going to be great. But in terms of storytelling, that's not really, it's pretty flimsy. And by flimsy, I mean non-existent. And then there's the other than like, oh, they were cheated, so we want a best of 7. It's like, so they could cheat 4 times and win. It doesn't make any sense. Just have a like a no holds bar blood and guts match with the trios if you're going to do something like that. Maybe not blood and guts, but like a cage match or something. Their cage matches have been spectacular too. The Bucks and the Lucha Bros probably had the best cage match in AEW, right? Like
match of the year.
Throw in 2 of the best workers in the world today with Pac and Kenny Omega. And why wouldn't I want to just see that one very violent, we have no rules because they've been cheating, so now we have no rules to match? Give that to me. That would be probably an all-timer. Even though I like the best of 7 because those are often fun. Yeah, I don't have any qualms with anything you said. I think the CM Punk thing, I don't think that they go out and do that without permission. And if they have permission to do that, and right now anyway, AEW isn't talking about doing the buyout, which is probably more likely due to not being able to come to terms on a non-compete. So there's 2 things that it is right now. I think they haven't come to terms with the non-compete, and that's why they're not interested in the buyout, because they can't come to terms on a non-compete, or they have no plans on letting him go because they want him back. I think like even if everybody hates him in the locker room, and if the entire locker room thinks he's a train wreck and refuses to work with him to an extent, ultimately he's money. And I'm hoping TK brings it back because it's what's best for business. And we have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. We have no idea what happened since Brawl Out with the Bucks and with CM Punk. We have no idea who's working and who's not behind the scenes, because for all I know, the Elite and CM Punk hashed it out. There could have been a secret meeting with Tony Khan and everybody. They could have done a Zoom meeting, for Christ's sake, and all got together and said, here's what I want. I want to hear this, or I want that, or I want this thing. And Tony was probably like, Ace Steel bit a dude. So no, he's gone. Like, and that's it, right? Like, sorry, he's your friend. He bit Kenny Omega. Like, that can't happen. And then there was the stuff about the dog that was apparently fake. And that's a bad look if it's coming from the CM Punk camp, quote unquote, which to me says there's sources that are friends with CM Punk. There's a 1,000 questions that I have here, because who are the sources you're talking to? People that aren't in regular communication with CM Punk, or like people that text him back and forth, because those aren't sources, not good ones. Like, unless it's coming from AJ or from Punk himself, I don't believe it. Like, I just don't, because if I'm Punk and I'm planning on returning after my surgery, I'm going to lie to everybody's face about coming back. I'm still pissed. I'm doing everything I can to put out like mixed signals and keep people guessing. I really, truly in my soul hope that he comes back. I also really, truly in my soul think he's a piece of shit for doing that at the press conference. If that was in fact legit, which everything says it is, I don't think Kenny comes out with a bite mark for fun. Like that was legit. That picture from the video game thing he did in Tokyo was a hell of an image, where you see like upper and lower teeth on his forearm. So when he did it to Pac, I was cracking up because I thought it was just so great. I don't think he can make that statement and then do that without letting Punk know, or without Tony going, yeah, that'll be fine. It won't get us in any trouble. Like, you cannot do that stuff. Making fun of the buckshot lariat was hilarious. That part I was okay with. The bite was hilarious, but I was also going, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. Also, I'm laughing my ass off. So it was great entertainment. I don't know that you can do that if you were the one that said the message that it's not the Elite versus CM Punk, and then you do that stuff in Chicago. I expected his music to hit. I expected CM Punk's like the Chicago flag splashing across the screen as soon as the bite happened, until they took the loss. And then I was like, all right, that was to get the Death Triangle team a bigger pop for the night. They got cheered working heel. Everybody was working heel in this match. Every single person was a heel in this match. And it was great. It was really entertaining because of that. But like you said, some of it just doesn't make any sense. And then there was a lot of that show. Like Tyler, you and I were talking in terms of what they're doing well. The wrestling is incredible. AEW is putting out some really great in-ring work with really quality matches that are really entertaining. And then you have stuff like Rampage where it's like you have incredible work being done. And I just don't care about any of it. Like FTR versus Top Flight was great. And then Darby versus that other guy was certainly something that happened. But I don't care about that match. It was, well, they've wrestled several times on Dark. Well, that's great. Keep it there because you haven't built this guy at all. And I don't know who he is. So you have to start acknowledging that Dark is important to watch and that everybody needs to watch it to follow what's happening on the main shows. Or I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it. I'm just not, because it's a developmental show. And I get it. That dude, whatever his name was, you said it previously known as somebody, and I also forgot that too. That dude can go. I was loving that match. And then it got over and I was like, that was a really entertaining wrestling match that didn't seem to matter in terms of a television storyline. Because I don't know what happened out of that other than we could see that dude can work and do it on TV. I got nothing. I have nothing left to go like, oh, this is good. I don't really know. I don't think it was a great idea this week to not have MJF at all. Like not in a promo package, not in a vignette, just absent. Your new world champion, winner by cheating, and all you have is Regal who helped him win, which I loved. But no MJF was a little bit weird, especially over 2 shows. 3 hours of television without your new champ is bonkers to me. And I know he was advertised for next week, but man, that's a long time to just simply not have him there. Anyway, those are my thoughts on AEW for the week. Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, where to begin? You guys bring up such great points. I first want to mention I totally omitted House of Black's return.
Oh, so good.
Which
all rise.
I effing
did. I got up out of my seat.
Great tweet,
yes, sir.
Yes, yeah. As was everyone in that Chicago crowd, seemingly. I'll just, I guess my first response would be just an anecdote. I was in Walmart a few days ago. This was prior to my great cold and sore throat of 2022. And I dropped by the figure aisle, which is probably a mistake because the inventory is incredible now. A few months ago, it was pretty bare, but now Walmart of Glendale, Arizona on Bell Road is ready for the holiday.
Now that you advertise.
Ready for the holiday season, apparently.
Our thousands of listeners are going to be like, oh, I'm going
just
there.
storming the place. They have the Supreme Cody AEW with like 4 different heads, different tights. It's $42. It's ridiculous. But anyway, they happen to have a CM Punk Walmart exclusive in there. And
get out.
It's a pretty unassuming figure. It's only $19.99, and it has him in an AEW hoodie, an AEW microphone, and that's about it. But I don't have a CM Punk.
Does it have Mindy's muffins in the back?
No, it does not. No, it does not. They forgot about that detail.
All out exclusive.
Exactly. But I share this because I saw that and I was like, I don't know that I've ever had a Punk, and maybe this is my time to get one. So I grabbed it off of the rack and I just sort of looked at it for a while. And I don't know about you guys. You can tell me I'm ridiculous if you think that's the case. I just sort of stood there. And I don't know if I was fully pacing, but I was just doing all this mental. I was expending all this mental energy, deciding whether I should buy this $20 Punk figure for myself or not. One, do I need it? No, I already have too many of these. Yeah. But I had this sort of ethical dilemma of. I even went back to CM Punk's Twitter. He hasn't been active on there. Yeah. But I just went back months and months, just thinking of, do I actually like this guy? Or not. Basically, whose side? I know. I kid you not. Walmart has the security footage for probably anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. I was conducting this research, this analysis of, am I on Punk's side? Do I feel good contributing money to him? I very much feel as though I've had to choose a side between the Elite or Punk. Who's right? Who's wrong? Where do I stand? And so I ended up not getting the figure, actually. I got this really cool Big E figure. It's Big E with the belt, with the
nice.
WWE Championship. And I thank you. I said to myself,
look, I can't even say nothing. Yeah, Big E. You can't go wrong with Big E.
E is beloved by all. I feel like I have to do this. But for Punk, I left him sadly back on the rack because, as you guys both mentioned in your comments, I felt as though I've had to choose a side. And I've probably been more pro Elite while recognizing perhaps their flaws in this situation. But I think I have to summarize this by saying, just like you guys, I don't know exactly what happened here. I don't know exactly who to root for. I think there are faults on both sides, on Punk and on the Elite. But like you, Donnie, I do agree that it seemed pretty eyebrow raising that Kenny had this interview with Sports Illustrated about sort of letting this go and moving forward. But then in the match in front of the Chicago crowd, they're totally playing up to this. So my summary is that I don't know where I stand with this, guys. I don't know who I'm supposed to root for, whose figure I'm supposed to buy or not buy. I have no idea. I'll just avoid the figure section, I guess, for a little bit. But in terms of what's working for AEW, I still agree with you guys. I think we needed to have MJF on screen this week. He was not. I think that was a big error. Maybe there's more behind the scenes. But in terms of the good, a fun women's three-way tag, I'm glad Jamie is now the champ. And like you said, both you said, the in-ring work is really good, but there have been some qualms we've taken with the presentation of AEW in terms of the records and the rankings sort of going to the side as ROH has taken up a lot of the TV time.
So many injuries too, between the suspensions and Adam Cole might be done forever. Like, and certain figures, this
full screen Jones here. Okay.
Yes.
Chris that. Yes.
Also out. Layla's out. Like
Miro apparently is not injured, but there's just not a spot for him right now.
His booking has been injured.
Perplexing.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah,
that man on my screen.
Yeah, so I'm probably rehashing a lot of what we've spoken about over the past few episodes, Brad. But I think they're in a really fascinating place. It does seem like a lot of the fan base does share some of these concerns that you and Donnie highlighted. But I think we know how good AEW can be at its peak. Some of those peak moments. It's been incredible. The rise of Britt Baker, Hangman beating Kenny Omega at Full Gear last year, the rise of the Acclaimed, right? We've had these moments that, as a wrestling fan, it's been amazing storytelling. But like you guys, I do share some of these concerns. So Donnie, that's a true story. I did not buy the Punk figure, but you are rocking a really great retro Punk tee, which I totally respect.
That used to be the old record, 434 days.
That's right.
But no, this man in the middle, the tribal chief, the head of the table, is now the record holder. Well, not the overall record holder, but in modern history.
That's not happening. The 2000 whatever. Yeah, that's not.
You never know. I mean, he
could
drop one and he could come back in like 5 years and drop the other one.
Roman Sammartino.
It all depends on the population of the island of relevancy. That's all I'll say.
This is true. They're just hitting all the right notes with the Bloodline. I think it's the best story in wrestling now, regardless of company. We'll see what happens. I don't know if this past week in AEW, Brad, you brought this up. I don't know if that trios match means we're definitely not getting Punk because those actions and those antics must have for sure burnt a bridge forever, or if it's in fact the opposite, that because they did that secretly, maybe they hash things out and maybe Punk comes back in the new year after he nurses his injury. I have no idea. I'm going to tune in, but these ethical decisions are just really tough. I don't know whose side to take.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add because it's so complicated and we don't know anything. And I'm just excited to see it play out, hopefully on TV and not at a press conference.
Yeah, definitely. Amen. Well, guys, I think we've reached the end of the episode. Donnie, it is time for your plugs. You are one of the hardest working people that we know. You have 2 shows. You have a great new mixtape. Tell us about everything you're doing. Give us your plugs. I'm gonna pass it over to you. Floor is yours.
Oh wow. Thank you very much. Well, first and foremost, being the fact that I am on another 19 Media Group entity, I would like to plug Hidden Gems Football. That's right, Hidden Gems Football, which myself, Donnie Oooh, and my partner, and shoot, probably hard at work, which guy he works harder than me, the Mojo King, which got half found of 19 Media Group. Every Thursday we drop, and we have 3 topics. One, my big thing on what happened in the past week's NFL action. Then we come together and get y'all ready for Thursday night football. Trying to figure out which one should you put some coin on. If there's a survivor pick out the Thursday game, and if not, then we go over the weeks. The Sunday slate of games, particularly concerning survivor pool picks. So yeah, that drops every Thursday. I do have an audio podcast on the Salty Thoughts of Donnie Oooh, which is available on multiple streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, Anchor.fm, amongst others. That drops every Wednesday. I'll give the disclaimer here.
It is uncensored.
So it's very vulgar at times, but at the same time, most of the time it's just me and my uncensored salty thoughts on the sports world, politics, New York politics, and music. Last but not least, I do dabble in music, and I do have a new EP, actually a debut EP, which myself, Donnie Oooh, and producer extraordinaire at Jay Furman, we came together for the Elders EP. It's available now on Bandcamp, the Bandcamp app, or bandcamp.com. Give it a listen. You'll be glad you did. It kind of dabbles in kind of, maybe 90-ish hip hop, but just that hip hop that with a substance, So it's my debut, and give it a spin. And definitely last but not least, easytree.me/RotoDonnieOooh, and you can gather everything that I probably neglected to tell y'all on that website. So yeah, and thank y'all. Winchester. Listeners of my show will know why I said it that way. But yeah, it's always Winchester and McDowell, or Winchester and McDowell. Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to thank y'all for even bringing me back on your platform. I'm more me now, because over the last couple months, after the last 6-7 months, these 2 dudes have really become brothers from another on the West Coast. So I really appreciate them, probably more than they realize. And yeah, so that's about it for me, because like I said, if I keep on talking, this will be 2 hours.
I can say probably I think this is safe to say for Tyler here, that the best part about doing this stuff has been the people that we meet and the friendships that we've formed through this. So we reciprocate, and we appreciate everything that you've done for us, coming on the show, and just your friendship. For real. Yeah. No, that lost. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Your support, Donnie, even before having you on the first time or now, has meant so much to us. And yeah, Brad, I second what you said. Meeting the people who are also doing this, who listen to us, it's by far the best part of this. Seeing you guys with your beautiful families and getting or hearing your passion for wrestling and your takes every week just fills me with so much joy. So I am grateful for you both. I'm grateful for our listeners and viewers. You can find Brad at Wind Duster. I am at Tyler J. McDowell. We are at GIPod19. Of course, follow the crew. Check out the roster at 19M Group on Twitter. You will not regret that. And we hope that you will join us for next week's edition of Gimmick Infringement. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Good Pods, our premier partners, and Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.